Question: are you loving your enemies? Are you working on it? Because it is a requirement to enter our Father's kingdom. Jesus, our mentor, is instructing us that we need to learn to love our enemies and be very good at it. Matthew 5, verse 23. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Oh, those neighbors across the border. No, we hate them. The Philistines, the Ammonites, the Moabites. Because they wanted to kill the Israelites. And thus the Israelites hated them. And any otherites that were non-Israelites. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, and do good to those who hate you. Pray for those who despitefully use you and persecute you. So these people, they're flesh and blood. They worship other gods. Many of them will be your enemies. They will curse you. They will persecute you. They will despitefully use you. But God will use them righteously for our weekly trials, for our character building, to love them, to learn to love our enemies, to enter our Father's kingdom. And one day, our enemies will have a resurrection to look up to fight for. That's the festival of ingathering, their perfect day. So that you yourselves may be the children of your Father who is in heaven. For he causes his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. And we are his children. And just like it says in the faith chapter that God is not ashamed to be called our God, our Father, because we do your will, Father, not my will, not my nuclear weapons upon you. Jesus Christ sets the example, our mentor. Matthew 26, verse 53, after Peter slices Malchus's ear with his sword. Don't you realize that I have the power to call upon the Father at this time? And he will furnish me with more than 12 legions of angels? Jesus was trying to show Peter that at any time he can stop the simulation and scorch the earth. He can ditch the cross and not get crucified. But he didn't. He wanted to show the example to us to love your enemies to the very end. Let's read verse 52 because it talks about the sword. Then Jesus said to Peter, put your sword back in its place, for all who take up the sword shall die by the sword. If you hold on to hatred in your heart, you will die by your hatred. So give an enemy a gift. Find out what they like. You can read it in the Proverbs. There's nothing wrong with it. You can solve a lot of problems with a gift. Jesus is not only our instructor, our mentor, to telling us to love our enemies. He showed us how it's done. He's a man of action. And we're going to see when he was crucified what his attitude was towards the world that crucified him. Luke 23, verse 34. Then Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. He loved his enemies to the very end. The ultimate sacrifice. And they spat at him. They beat him. And they killed him. And yet today he's alive. And he's our example and our trailblazer. And he's the best one that we should follow. Why? Because the Father is giving him everything. And if we learn to love our enemies too, we're going to take part of that inheritance with Jesus Christ.
Simulation complete.